Professor Greg's class.
And welcome to your introduction to data narration with me, Professor Greg. Here we are in the data dojo, which is really just my living room. And what I want to talk about today is this, right? This sort of constellation that we have going on here. This amorphous constellation, which is really meaningless. Now, what this is visualized data. You don't know what data it is at the moment. But what I hope you'll take away from this video by the end of it is that in order to start your journey as a data narrator, the first step that you have to take is understanding how to ask questions of data. Once you begin to ask questions of it, then you'll be able to start shaping it into a story. You'll understand what people can gain and learn from the individual data that you're looking at. And then ideally, you'll be able to shape that into a cohesive and entertaining narrative. Now, I'm going to keep using the word entertaining because ideally you want to both captivate and educate at the same time, right? And now the term for this is edutainment, right? Which is, kind of like taking educational materials and wrapping it in something that is entertaining, captivating, funny, whatever it might be, that makes us engage with it better. So what is this data, right? I'll put the mystery to rest at this point. This is the 2021 total operating budgets of Major League Baseball teams, right? I have them mapped to size here, so you can see sort of who's the small ones. You can see who's spending lots and lots of money, right? Of course, it's going to be the Yankees, the Red Sox, right? These major teams, Chicago Cubs. But otherwise, right, now that we have this information, until we start asking questions of it, it just sort of sits out here in space, right? So we can start asking questions of it and we can start reshaping it so that we get a better sense of how these things feel and what insights we can begin to gain from them. So let's keep moving along here, right? So I wanted to visualize this a little bit differently now. So I've got the 2019 total payroll here. And just to give you an example, this is just another option for visualizing this, right? We can do it on an X and Y axis, and we can see what teams, are spending the most money. I've got the teams listed out here, right? There they are in my augmented reality visualization. But again, we're not really seeing this take a whole lot of shape, right? So let's keep reshaping it until we start to see things that begin to make sense to us, right? So looking at a single year wasn't super useful to me. So then what I wanted to do is I wanted to see, well, how did this stuff change over time, right? I've seen the operating budgets for 2021, and hold on, I'm actually on the opposite side here, so let me move. I've seen the operating budgets for 2021, right? The total payroll. So maybe I want to see how this stuff changes over time, right? So now I have it broken out by years, and then I total the payrolls by year, and I just see what this budget begins to look like. And as you can see, right, as the years go on, we're going up and up and up and up and up pretty steadily, right? There's some blips where things go down, right? Let's see, what year is that? That makes sense, right? 2008 to 2009, we had the housing crisis, right? So just a little bit of historical knowledge and you can see already that the associations begin taking shape. And then here we go up here, right? We see 2018, we see a peak, and then we see things come down. And so what happens in those 2 years, right? 2019 and 2020? Well, you already know, right? Hopefully, the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So we have this information, we begin to see and ask questions of it. And as we ask questions, we begin to clarify our narrative angle, right? So I see that something funny and different happened. And then I say, well, why did that happen, right? So now we're beginning to ask questions and find a relationship between Major League Baseball budgets and payroll and COVID-19. So let's just keep moving here. So here's another way that I can visualize this. And I've got colors to map out exactly what's happening. I'm going to sort of stand in the center here, right? Well, let me show you the whole shape first. I've got a big circle, right? And I've got the 2020 payrolls, right? So now that I know that COVID-19, something happened there, let's check out this 2020 season, right? And let's begin to see what those payrolls look like. Now, if I stand in the center, we can see who's got the smallest, right? Hold on, I've got big thumbs. I gotta click on this. There we go. With the Baltimore Orioles. And then right next to the smallest, we've got the biggest at the end of our sort of snake of payrolls here. We've got the biggest with the Yankees, right? But this isn't giving me a whole lot of information, right? It's telling me the sort of stagnant numbers, but it's not giving me a whole lot of other information about what happened. So what's a sample question that I can ask? Well, I know the total numbers. I know the total numbers from year over year. I see that they dropped. So I can ask the question, who lost the most? And that will help me begin to form this narrative. So who was the biggest loser? Also a very popular TV show. And now you'll notice that the colors have flipped, right? Because now instead of having the lowest number mapped to red, we have the lowest number of loss mapped to green, because that means that they lost the least, right? And who lost the most? So who lost the least, just in dollar signs, right? The Padres. They lost 31 million, right? Who lost the most? The Boston Red Sox, right? So now you begin to gain some clearer sense of forming all of this into a story, right? Because now you can start to assign who lost, who won, who weathered these storms the best, right? So what I want you to do now is to begin thinking like a data narrator, right? That's just one option for questions that you can begin to ask of this information. But with just this basic information, understanding that you want to look at how the pandemic impacted individual baseball teams and individually impacted their operating budgets, how much money they made and how much money they paid out into their communities. Now, I want you to try and think of 3 questions that you can ask this information to begin developing a narrative, all right? Give it a shot, and we'll see you in the next video. Here's just a bonus end of video puppy break, all right? Till next time, good boy, Rock. Good boy, buddy.